What up, Marsh Pod? A lot of news in this past week. We're on this 2-day-a-week schedule, so we're not getting into everything at once. So we're getting a lot of news as it comes out lately, and this week has actually been a pretty big news week for an off season with minimal. Last off season we had a ton of these off season tournaments. That's not going on right now, but we do have the commitment period coming up here at the beginning of October. So 1 week into September, and we're really starting to ramp up. We've had some public, some not public announcements of names and teams and so on. So I know the big ones, Royce Anderson, Benari James have kind of held the public's attention. Queen City Kings, Philadelphia Lakeshore Drive. Hey, Queen City Kings, man, I'm calling shots from up here. What can I say? But Royce Anderson, Yacht Club, ATLians, and Lone Star. A couple names that I've heard linked to Benari James at this point. I don't believe them, just considering what's happened. Run DMV, that seems unlikely now with the retirement of Myron Murray. Retirement seems like an exaggeration of his stepping down, but whatever, retirement. I did hear ATLians, but that one might kind of be for naught. Those are the ones that we've seen, and from the people I've spoken to, some of the names that keep popping up from a team perspective: Lakeshore Drive, Yacht Club, ATLians, and Queen City Kings. That's interesting, right? That's a big shift from where we were a year ago when teams were flocking to Bay Area and flocking to Showtime. That's just not the case right now. We've seen a shift from a West Coast dominant recruitment to a very East Coast dominant outside of LSD, which obviously is in more Central America, but Central United States, I should say. All that's fascinating, though, because if you look at these teams, they all have a very similar opportunity for who's going there. So, right, let's look at Royce Anderson, for example. Yacht Club, ATL, and Lone Star on his list. ATLians and Yacht Club, and Lone Star too, he's immediately the number one guy. And what we're seeing from players is they're flocking to teams, or at least being linked to teams where they can be the number one guy, or there's a legitimate structured coach in place, right? If you look at Benari James, Philadelphia, Lakeshore Drive, that's coaches that have been there, that know what they're doing, that have done a really good job of establishing themselves. Queen City Kings, it's a new coach, but it's the same general premise. Royce Anderson, you look at Yacht Club, there's actually, you got coach last year. He's been there for a little bit. You look at ATL and Sonny Jackson. He's established who he is. Now, Lone Star is like the one, hey, there's not a lot of structure in this spot, but you would hope Coach Woods is in it for the long haul. It appears to be certainly more active already in his career than his predecessors. But the constant trend here is players are interested in going places where there's a coach that they can trust to develop them. And I think that's going to start mattering. We're also seeing guys start to return to their general area, right? Royce Anderson's an Orlando native. He was all the way in the Bay Area. Benari James, North Carolina native, all the way over in Indiana. Players have stopped seeking out physical locations and have started prioritizing what's a location that fits for them. And I think that's why it's interesting that Bay Area and Showtime are not on these lists. One way to look at that, Bay Area is really good, right? They've got a lot of talent, but I think some of these high-end recruits are looking at that team and saying, where am I going to be? If Royce Anderson wants out, if Dime Hardaway, by the way, Dime Hardaway, this has kind of flown under the radar. Dime Hardaway's not returning, right, to Bay Area. We're focused on Royce Anderson. Dime Hardaway, wherever he ends up, is going to be a phenomenal find for that team. One name I've heard linked to them, ATLians, and, shocking, Yacht Club. So, Bay Area, and I don't think this is a negative for Coach Pope, but they've got so much talent that some of these high-end players look, why am I going there, right? Why would I want to go to this team where I don't know that I'm going to get mine, I don't know that I'm going to develop, I don't know that I'm going to get minutes, and we're seeing that from players literally leaving there. The same thing with Showtime, right? We saw this group with 3 different head coaches prioritize Bronny James over guys like Corey Yams. I think that really hurt them in the long run. It hurt them when they went up against Southeast Select because they hadn't established a full season of this is our pecking order. We go to Corey, he's going to cook. We go to Israel Vines, he's going to have a big night. They didn't do that. They were just Bronny James, Bronny James, Bronny James. Bryce James is leaving too now. That's notable that teams are saying, look, maybe we don't want, or players are saying, we don't want to go there necessarily because there isn't a track record with that head coach that shows me that I can step in and find a role if there's already something established. And Showtime should be, if Corey Yams returns, which I know that was a bold prediction that I made, it seems more likely than not he's probably staying. If he's going to be there, that should be the number one. And if you're, let's say, Royce Anderson, you're not going to look at Showtime and say, that's where I want to go. Forget about the geographical limitations that he would, no, not limitations, complications, but why would I go there and be the number two with Corey Yams in an environment that's that, in which the coach hasn't proven to be able to play and feature multiple guys? The last team I'm surprised isn't showing up is Southeast Select. Two-time runner-up, a head coach that's proven they can establish a pecking order, rely on a star, but also get others involved. There's a complete void at the top of this roster. Trey Turner's gone. Gabe Pope is coming back. He's like the biggest name if you say, who are we building around? It's Gabe Pope. And this is not me doing the constant Marsh bashes Gabe Pope. This is me saying, look, there's a huge vacuum right now of high-end talent. Why isn't Royce Anderson considering that? Why isn't Jay Laster considering that we've been made aware of? That's very fascinating because you've got a coach established and you've got an environment that's proven to be successful both for individuals, because now Trey Turner's off to Tennessee, and for a team with those two championships. It's interesting. I think we'll get more. One more reminder, though. Marsh Mailbag is up. It's running. Put in your questions, and we'll talk to you on Monday.